Okay, that one's rolling. And now we've got this one rolling. We're good, bro. We made it. I think the one thing is that pole is right where that fucking sunlight is. Do you want it out of your face or would you prefer it in your face?
We're good, man.
This is good?
Great.
Okay. My cardinal action right when we start, bro, is my bird. You hear it?
You get that lighter at work?
No, I don't have it strong enough.
Do you want a butter knife? Are we out of fluids? I think it's out though.
It's crazy fast. We only use it like once.
I know. That's in. It's on. Good job.
All right, mate. Welcome to the podcast. Good to see you. We're out here in Hawaii. Out here in Kaua'i. I don't want to mispronounce it. So you know what? I'm going to fucking start again. Because there's a whole argument.
Dude, there's gotta be a lot of mispronunciations. There's gonna be some Sanskrit thrown around, and maybe you and I both can, mispronounce some things. So
What's a part of it? Let's just start fresh.
start over.
Let's fucking start over, dude. Okay.
Kaua'i.
We're here on the human game. I'm really excited to have you on, man, because you have one of, I think, the most profound systems in your pocket, and so many people don't understand it. They think that it's something that it's really not. And I'm really looking forward to exploring Ayurveda with you, because I think the explanation you gave me the other night, I would love to start with that, of the internal, external, the environments. Like, why people aren't thinking about this? And I'm like, as soon as I'm understanding it, I'm like, why doesn't everybody not know this? So tell me, man. Tell me about the way you see the environments and why Ayurveda is essentially important. Why do you think Ayurveda is important?
Before I answer that, Nick, I just want to honor the work that you're doing and the message that you are giving to the world. And I think it's very important.
Thanks, man.
And I also want to thank you for the opportunity to share this information with the world, because to me it's very sacred. It's very special. You talk about the human game. What if I told you that there's a specific strategy that has already been written for you, for your unique individual, your unique constitution, and that Ayurveda is the science of life. All right, it's a science of knowledge. It's a science of knowing. And the difference between what you've done in the past with your spiritual work and yoga philosophy, this is the way it was best explained to me. Yoga is the study of the inside out. Ayurveda is the study of the outside in. If in Pranahama Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda,
we'll just say that.
Yogananda.
They love to pick complex names over.
Yeah. I told you there's going to be mispronunciations.
But it's bliss. It means bliss, right? Yoga?
Ananda, yeah.
Ananda bliss? Yeah.
So this is the study of self-realization, yeah?
Yes.
Ayurveda is the study of the environment that we're in. Ayurveda is the study of epigenetics. It is the disposition of the unique constitution of the individual, and Ayurveda was written in Sanskrit, Nick. So we're gonna drop a few Sanskrit words, and even if someone doesn't comprehend what that means, this language is so sacred that even the vibration of this language can plant seeds for what we're going to talk about. And so there's a couple terms that I'm going to use right now. And so when we talk about dosha, we're talking about the elemental blueprint. The moment of your conception, Nick, the moment that you were conceived, you had a special elemental makeup. And in Ayurveda, it is believed that if I were to break down the world components in the easiest terms, that I would find 5 elements. We have space, air, fire, earth, and water. And if those elements make up the world around us, they also make up the world within us.
I think that's the biggest disconnect.
Okay? So, health, according to Ayurveda, is how aligned or how imbalanced you are with the elemental makeup inside of you, your internal environment, in balance with the external environment, in accordance with those elements. When we talk about your dosha, we talk about your elemental makeup. Everybody is unique. Everybody is special. Everybody is unlike any other individual. And Ayurveda is putting a game plan together in regards to diet, lifestyle, and sleep. Those are the foundations. And the reason that those are the foundations, because when you're talking about the study of life, the ancient sages, and just so we're clear where this information comes from, yogis were sitting in the northern Himalayas, meditating and transcribing what they would consider truth in Sanskrit. All right? So this information has been written down for at least 5,000 years. But really what we're saying is that this information is pulled from the Akashic records or space, the Akash, that this information is truth. And truth is embedded in this game that we play, and that truth was pulled into these texts called the Vedas.
So you could say, even from like a Carl Jung perspective, that this would be the collective unconscious.
The universal consciousness, universal field, metafield.
It's the unconscious though as well, meaning it exists, but we're not conscious of it. So we're pulling it from the collective unconscious into consciousness to basically figure out the design of the game. I mean, the big point here that I think a lot of people are missing is that your body is designed by the elements to work a specific way, and they're not all designed the same. You know, I feel like that we talked about this, the one-size-fits-all approach. Yeah,
and really, your role here on Earth, each individual's role is balancing. And we're going to get into which elements provide which type of roles. But this unique individual and this makeup of these elements is now broken down into what we would consider 3 body types. And these 3 body types, these doshas, this elemental makeup of these individuals, is a combination of elements. The first body type is Vata. Vata is a combination of air and space. Vata, like va, to move. Spanish vamanos. Va, to go. This is wind. So when you see people with a Vata makeup, these are people that are generally thinner, lengthier. These are good runners. So these elements are actually encompassed in these individuals that allow them to be excelled in a specific area. So for example, someone that's in balance, that's Vata. Now this is space, this is air, so these are your vocalists. These are your poets. These people are tied into the ether. They're tapped in. They have thinner skin, so they're a bit more sensitive. Perhaps when it comes to memory, they're quick learners, but then they forget, right? These are people that may be out of balance. They're drinking a lot of coffee, they're talking a lot, they're moving really fast, right? And the key for Vata is consistency. When you talk about wind, wind can either be just the right amount of breeze, it's consistent, or it can be really stuffy or too windy. So with Vata people, that elemental makeup, that's what we're looking for, is consistency. So that might show up with a routine, right? With this particular dosha, you might want to wake up at the same time, eat at the same time, have lunch at the same time, sleep at the same time. And these elements that we talk about not only make up the world around us, but also make up the system. For example, these elements are different during different times of day.
And time of year.
Different time of year, so we have seasons. So are we aware? Are we in touch? Are we eating seasonal food? Is there a reason that in fall, all of these spices come forward? Cinnamon and clove and nutmeg, right? Warming spices before the winter comes. So if air, and this is what we're really gonna get into, is that there's this idea of gunas, and gunas just means attributes, right? So with a Vata person, what is the attribute of air? If I go up higher in air, it gets colder, it gets drier, right? What is the attribute of space? It's dry. So a Vata imbalanced person, they're already prone to dry and cold. So to balance that, you are going to introduce the elements that are going to counteract that, which is going to be earth and water. So let's move to the next two doshas, and then we'll tie it all together. All right, so the next body type, the next dosha is Pitta. And Pitta is fire and water combination. All right, these are your motivational speakers. They're very mentally sharp, right? But when out of balance, these are the individuals that are extremist. Yeah, they're your hardcore Republicans, your hardcore Democrats, your hardcore anything.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Fundamentalists.
The hardcore fundamentalists. It's extreme, just like fire is extreme. It can be really, really hot, or if the fire goes out and you have no fire, it's stagnant. So the key for Pitta dosha, the key for Pitta element is moderation. They say moderation is the key, especially for Pitta, right? These are the ones that want the hardest drugs. These are the ones that want the hardest alcohols. These are the ones that want the sharpest, most intense. These are medium statured. These people are made for quick, sharp movements. These are your basketball players, your football players.
Notice what you said. Made for.
Yeah.
It's like what we're doing is figuring out it's a game, and then figuring out what are we designed to do.
Correct.
Inherently, you don't have to come up with or even become.
Yeah.
You are already designed a specific way, using the elements, and then that in harmony. Tell me if I'm getting this right. That in harmony with, okay, internally I'm designed this way. Well, then what's the next step? And then it's externally, what environment is going to match my internal?
Match your internal, or more importantly, balance
Right.
your internal.
That's a better way to say it.
Yeah, and because what we're trying to do is bring balance to the elements, so that We're not too dry. We're not too cold. Pitta is going to be too hot, right? You're going to see these individuals be prone of maybe arthritis. Itis in Greek is fire, right? So those are going to have, maybe they've got red skin conditions, blood,
Pitta?
fire, pitta.
Okay.
And we'll get into where this is seen in the body. But I want to come back to your point, because what you're suggesting is that each individual has a superpower based on the elements that they were given. Yeah. So the superpower for Vata is the messengers. These people are tapped in. So they bring the message. And what does fire do? Fire transforms. Fire takes wood and it burns its air. So they give the message to the Pitta, and the Pitta transform. They coach. They want to see you come in one way and leave another. These are your entrepreneurs. They want to build a business that changes the world. Why? Because they're fire. They want transformation. They want assimilation. They want metabolism. And then Kappa. Kappa means to nourish, and this is a combination of earth and water. These are your lovers. You know, I reference oil a lot in Ayurveda. And oil is a combination of the purest essence of the plant, of the earth and the water combination. And the word oil in Sanskrit is sneha. And sneha also means mother love, unconditional love. Not kama like romantic love. Sneha like the love that you would get from your mother is also the word for oil. Why? Because this is nourishing of the mother's milk, earth and water. Yeah? And just like mothers love, kappas are meant to love. These are your football coaches and your kindergarten teachers. These are the ones that want to gather and everyone to be together. These are the ones that hold everything together, the glue. You've got the messenger. You've got the transformer. And you've got the lover holding it all together. Yeah? And those are the ways that the elements work in the doshas to create the world we live in. So we all have our natural abilities. And if we have a frame of reference on what is going to allow us to stay in balance or what's going to cause an imbalance, then we have a cheat code. Not a universal cheat code for everybody, one size fits all, but one that is unique to the individual.
How is it unique?
There's a couple diagnostic tools when an Ayurvedic health counselor, a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, or an Ayurvedic doctor is going to be looking at you. They're going to look at the tongue, they're going to look at the face, they're going to look at the body, and they're going to assess to see if the way that you were conceived, and this is going to be called your Prakriti. Your Prakriti is the structure, the elemental structure of the way that you were born. And through life, man, stresses, relationships.
Like me over here worrying about the mics and getting good audio, bro. Stresses.
All of the things that come up in our lives that throw us off our path,
Yeah.
is what's going to be the Vikriti. This is the aggravation. This is the imbalance. And so, when we are looking at restoring balance in Ayurveda, we are looking at what you are being to what you naturally are and trying to bring your existence as close to your natural makeup as possible. And that is the definition of health according to Ayurveda. Can we align you? Can we balance you? Can we get you as close to your natural makeup now so that we can thrive?
In balance with it.
Balance with it. Because the yogis, it's not just, and you're going to see this with Brian Johnson and how not to die and this concept. There's these books.
Don't die, yeah.
Don't die. How not to die. That's really what they're saying. Is they're saying, okay, this is the science of life. Life is the science of living. Living is the science of not dying, and not dying is not getting sick and dying. So how do I not get sick and die? How do I thrive?
Or age.
So what if I were to say, and I think that this is where I stand different from a lot of your guests, is I'm going to propose something. I'm going to say, is it possible that there were sages more advanced than us? Is it possible that there were societies more advanced than us? Is it possible that they've been debating this for 10,000 years and your strategy is already written and you don't have to figure it out because these yogis have already figured it out for you? What if they already wrote everything you need to know by the playbook? And that's what I'm here to offer the human game. It's a playbook specific to the individual to restore balance, to thrive.
Through Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Then walk me through that then.
Yeah.
One more time, just to really, really hit home. Okay, so then.
Yeah.
Then to balance through what the means. Tell me the means.
So the way the balance of the means is, this is what you I think you've mentioned about me that you appreciate, and it's the lens of Ayurveda. So for me, when we talk about attributes, right? Is water wet or dry? Is fire hot or cold? Right? Am I doing something, right? Once I understand my dosha, you can take dosha quizzes. I think we can get a quiz for your followers and your listeners.
I'm sure people, the fam is already like, okay, what's mine?
Yeah. What's
I
my
know
dosha?
If I was listening,
yeah.
that would be.
Start with, you guys got to know your dosha. Like that, if we're in 2025 and we don't know our dosha, Ayurvedically, like start there. Start to inquire, what dosha am I? And there's a lot of dosha quizzes out there, but that's a great place to start. And then, let's say, for example, I'm going to speak for myself. Yeah? I'm Pitta dosha with a Vata imbalance. And you want to treat the imbalance. So things that would help me, right? I've got a flight later today. Flight up, Vata. Traveling, Vata. Air, higher, Vata. So flying, traveling, is one of the most Vata initiating things you can do. So what am I going to do to counteract that? I'm going to apply coconut oil before I go on the flight. I'm going to do nasi in the nasal passages. Yeah? I can biohack my experience to ensure balance before entering an environment. That's the cheat code.
The original biohack.
The original biohack. An elemental biohack. You know, and it's like, all right, for example.
Well, can you, before you go on,
yeah.
I'd just love to hear coconut oil, the connection.
Yeah, so coconut oil, it is cooling. Yeah, you could do a warming oil like sesame oil. So, all right, I will say this. We've talked a lot about seed oils right now, yeah? And how destructive seed oils are. And really what I want to focus on is that these seed oils, what they're really talking about is genetically modified seed oils. They're talking about oxidizing these at high temperatures.
Unnatural.
They're talking about
it's just
unnatural.
Shit.
And I will have to say that the only oil that is mentioned in the Vedas, listen, the Vedas were written in northern India, so they're only specific to that environment. So you have to take the principles that they're saying and apply it to the environment that you're in, okay? So, they only speak of sesame oil in the Vedas. It is the only oil even mentioned. And it's magic, open sesame. So it's the only oil they even use. Why? Because they were in northern India where it was cold. In southern India, you would apply the fundamentals of Ayurveda and use coconut oil to cool. But really the oil is grounding. Remember, it's earth and water. So if I'm going to go on a flight and I'm introducing air and movement, jet lag, your time's off, your circadian rhythm's off, all of these things, you can limit how much they affect you with awareness of the elements. And then in this particular example, applying oil to ground before I'm doing something that's airy. Does that make sense?
Total sense. When you say it, it's almost like I'm laughing to myself at how simple, but yet it's completely missed.
Yeah.
It's simple in the sense that wait, we have elements. Fucking look around. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be scientific molecules. It's like,
dude,
the element, look at what's right in front of you. Do you think that the same thing that is outside of you is within you? Think about it. If the elements are outside of you, they must be within you. There must be some sort of correlation between the external earth, air, fire.
And
you know what I'm saying? It's profound. It's profound.
It is profound, and I think the world is waking up to this. And to me, this is the study of epigenetics, right? So Ayurveda has been talking about this for 10,000 years, and now all of a sudden, Bruce Lipton and all these guys are like, "Oh my gosh, it's not the gene. It's not the gene expression. It's the environment that the gene is presented in."
And there's Ayurveda. That's environment.
Ayurveda.
That's the environment.
So Ayurveda is the study of epigenetics. Ayurveda is the study of the gene and the environment that it's presented to. The elements that you are presenting it to. Yeah? And that's, to me, now gives you a way to move through life. Am I doing something that is going to put me in balance? Dude, the ultimate strategy. And this isn't, I think we talk about it like a lot of philosophy, and we talk a lot about religion, but like, what if you had a game plan on the material level? What if you had a game plan so that you could have the optimal performance in the body through diet, lifestyle, and sleep?
I think that's what most people are trying to do. I don't know about most. As someone who is 125 pounds heavier than I am now, and a lot of people are in that place. You're just eating for comfort, you're distracting yourself, self-sabotaging. But I think that deep inherently in our souls, that's the goal.
We all want to thrive, yeah?
I think deep down, I think on a psychological level, people can be so lost in the shadow that they just want to survive.
Yeah.
It's not even about thriving at that moment. It's just like, can I make it another day? I've been there.
And this is what we kind of talked about the other day, and it's like, it's almost like a switch. It's almost like you are living and you are thriving, or you are going further and further away from that.
And I feel like thriving comes when your body feels balanced. And it feels good.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're not misaligned, and you just like the key I'm seeing is the neurochemical responses are like the essence of biohacking, what people say nowadays, but they come at it from a molecular, kind of removed from the elements standpoint. But what you're saying is like, no, there's a reason why you're taking these peptides, so to speak, hypothetically, or you're taking these amino acids, or you're taking these. But if you look at nature and you look how it works and you figure out the makeup of yourself, what else could be more important than that? Than knowing your own internal environment.
And the environment that you're in.
In the environment
Talk about awareness, right?
And then we haven't even fucking got to astrology, the Vedic astrology.
Yeah, and we will. We're gonna tie all of this in.
Because that's incredible. The Vedic astrology is blowing my mind.
Yeah, and before we get into that, I just want to
we don't gotta get into it now.
Want to harp on like this concept of diet, lifestyle, and sleep, because I see we tend to live in a society that adopts something for everyone, right? Carnivore, vegan.
I literally just met somebody that did that to me.
Right? So
carnivore is the best for everybody.
What if I told you that I had a diet already written for your specific dosha of foods to favor and foods to avoid? Yeah? Foods to increase and foods to decrease. What if I had this for your lifestyle as well? Yeah? Things that will put you in balance and things that will take you out. Specifically for you.
Just like you said the other day, dude, I think it's worth saying again.
Yeah.
The 1/3 of the population.
Perfect example of Shilajit, yeah?
Or
perfect example of ashwagandha. Perfect
carnivore.
example of carnivore.
Ashwagandha is a good one.
And I think, and it's just like you take these incredible Ayurvedic herbs, and again, this is like Ayurveda just making its way to the surface, like ashwagandha. People understand what that is. Shilajit. These are powerful Ayurvedic medicines, dude, and those are just 2 of them. There are 10 more juggernauts that are going to make their way. Yeah? But
or even vegan and carnivore, I feel like that's a really good example.
Yeah, so what Ayurveda is saying is that what is medicine for me, Nick, is poison for you. And what is medicine for you is poison for me. That is the severity of knowing your unique constitution. You are not like anybody else. You are like you. So what should you be eating? Not what others should be telling you, but based on your elemental makeup, based on the elements, what makes sense? What's going to put you in balance?
Because it's not just about nutrient density. It's not just about getting the minerals, because this has the right amount and you need to make sure that you have the right amount of it. It's like, that's such a surface level way of going about it.
It's a very Western, scientific, laboratory, the idea of extracting curcumin out of turmeric. As if all the other properties are not important, and that you're going to take and isolate this compound and make it all about this compound and forget how nature gave it to you. Right? Because I can't patent nature. I can take a compound and patent that and make billions off that. Yeah? But I can't patent God's intellectual property, and what I'm going to suggest is that the way that nature made it is the way that it's supposed to be.
Big claim.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's, in Shilajit, for example, is very heating. So it's like, we can talk about online and you can talk about how amazing it is, and it's incredible. It really is. But if someone has excess heat in the body, and that's the last thing that you can take. So that's what we're missing. If someone's trying to lose weight, right? Why would they be taking ashwagandha? Ashwagandha is strengthening and grounding. Ashwagandha means horsetail, but really it means strength of horse. It really means strength of 10,000 horses. So if I wanted to add weight, if I was a Vata dosha, if I was, let's say, thin, and I wanted some more property, some more mass, dude, I'm giving you ashwagandha. You want to put on 15, 20 pounds in the gym? I'm giving you ashwagandha. But there's people out there trying to lose weight taking ashwagandha because they heard ashwagandha was good for them.
I did that.
It's incredibly difficult to lose. You're taking something that is building and strengthening and Kappa promoting, which would be great for balancing Vata. But if you're a Kappa and you're trying to lose weight, this would be a misuse of this.
Can I ask a question? About specifically, I'm really interested in, right now, we've seen the last couple of years, the rise of the Paul Saladino types, who are all about, you should eat red meat. And he brought fruit back, right? He was carnivore for a bit, carnivore MD, but now he's meat and fruit.
I think this is really important.
Yes.
I want to acknowledge this because Ayurveda uses animal products as medicine. And that needs to be very, very well understood. The reason that most of the time Ayurvedic practitioners will advise on lessening meat in the diet is because most people have slow digestion. And this is the concept of Agni. Agni is digestive fire. So it's not like that it's bad. It's just meat is very complex and it takes a long time to digest. That's it. It takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time, and we live in a culture that, bro, you're waking up, you probably just had some coffee and maybe a cookie, you're making breakfast, you had a snack at 10 o'clock, probably had a heavy meal at 12, maybe eating again at 2, and probably 5 or 6. So when you're having that many meals a day, how is it possible that you're going to be digesting and processing meat? And the best way that it was explained to me, dude, it's like starting the washing machine. When you eat something, there's a digestive process that can take 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. It can take a lot longer if your digestion is super slow. As soon as you eat it again, it's like having to start the dishwasher over or the washing machine. And that's what we're doing. And what Ayurveda says about disease is that disease is caused by undigested food, metabolic waste that isn't processed correctly, and therefore is stored in the bodily tissues, creating disease. That's pretty wild. Wow. All disease is caused by undigested food? Undigested emotions?
Makes perfect sense. So with meat then,
Yeah.
I think that there is an agenda to get people off of meat to control food that I'm aware of. I see like a rise of homesteading, see a rise of natural living, and I think that what I'm curious about is specifically the idea of the makeup of, like, for example, a Paul Saladino red meat. Would that be fire? Would that be earth? And would it be better for certain elemental types? And before you answer, I'm gonna check the camera, make sure we're still going, because I can't see it because it's so... Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Because it's so sunny, I can't see it.
No,
Okay.
that's really good, man. And this is let's talk about the attributes. Okay, this is really important. This is what I want to look at things. Talk about red meat. What animal are we talking about when we talk about red meat?
Talking about cow.
Okay. Based on the elements. Okay. If I had a cow, would that be more of an air animal or more of a ground animal?
Definitely ground.
Okay.
Definitely ground.
So I would say that this animal then would be composed more of earth and water. Yeah. So perhaps this animal would be very beneficial for balancing someone with a vata imbalance. And specifically Ayurveda is more about like bone broths, if you're going to cook like that, and utilizing animals in that way, versus eating the actual like flesh. Yeah. But there's other ways to get those types of nutrients. Yeah. Whereas, so like from an Ayurvedic perspective, maybe someone that is Kappa, like I have a brother, he's trying to lose weight, and he keeps talking about carnivore. He's Kappa, he's a big guy, right? From an Ayurvedic perspective, I'm just like, is this guy really gonna lose weight eating cows?
Why?
Whereas maybe, if you wanted to eat meat, you wanted to be carnivore, perhaps favor something that is lighter. Perhaps a fish or a bird like chicken. Yeah?
So that he can digest it faster?
Exactly. It's not as heavy. It's not so much earth and water. Okay. Yeah, it's easier to digest. Lighter meat is easier to digest.
So this is making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because, I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm just trying to make this connection in my head. It's that when you're not digesting, tell me how that helps with weight loss or weight loss. Because you're saying eating something lighter, okay. So then how does that affect the body's ability to
lose weight?
Lose fat, for example?
So the quicker that you're digesting, the less metabolic waste that you're going to have. So the stronger you're kindled your Agni, your digestive fire, the more it's going to break down and the quicker it's going to break down. And then what that allows your body to do is to focus on other things. If we have,
So it's like if you're digesting, you don't have enough energy to basically let go of the fat.
Nailed it.
So it's not about like meat's bad. It's about how fast you can digest it so that your body can essentially regenerate or focus on dropping the extra storage of fat.
Let me show you how to do this. Right? So we talk about different elements and different times of the day. High noon, what element would that be? High noon, midsummer. July.
It'd be dry.
It would be like pitta, it'd be fire.
Right, fire, of course.
So in Ayurveda, the idea would be that lunch is your biggest meal of the day because the sun is its highest point in the sky and the sun is going to help you digest. It's fire. your stomach is producing the most amount of hydrochloric acid at this time as well. So if you were gonna have a heavier meal, if you were gonna eat a steak, you were gonna eat meat, eat it at lunchtime. And then skip dinner. Allow your body to process and digest. And just like you've got the sun at its peak at noon, just on the right side of that, your liver. So pitta dosha, the seat, pitta is the liver. Why? Because the liver is taking everything, just like fire, taking it from wood and burning it to air. The liver is responsible for all of, it's the biggest gland in the body. So when you're not digesting food, you're able to process toxins in the middle of the night. Yeah? So your liver hours are from 10 to 2 at night, pitta. Stomach, 10 to 2 during the day. Sun, eat. So really at night, we should be preparing to have a successful rest and allow our liver to detoxify the blood to avoid the metabolic waste buildup in the body. So how can we, as night approaches, enhance and support the body's natural ability to detox itself? Eating before going to bed is the worst thing that you can do. Eating before bed. Dude, this is what sumo wrestlers want to try to gain as much weight as possible. They eat as much as they can before they fall asleep. It's a recipe for disaster, right? So just that alone. If you can just eat lunch and make that the biggest meal of your day, and have dinner be the smallest, or skip it, game changer. Human game changer. Yeah? But maybe you're Vata. All right? Maybe you need a little bit to ground.
Right?
Yeah. So if, let's say consistency, right? So maybe you're consistent. Maybe you do have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The way I think about it is like this, Nick. Vata eats 3 meals a day. Pitta has 2 meals a day. Kapha has 1 meal a day. Yeah? That way, because Kapha's digestion is slower. They need more time. These are also the ones that live the longest and have the least amount of health issues. What's really cool is you'll start to see these elements in the animal kingdom. Turtles are Kapha. Elephants are Kapha. They live the longest. You know, people think they're slow, but they just take more time to absorb. And guess what? They never forget. Like an elephant never forgets. So here we are in the school system. We praise Pitta. Sharp, you remember it. A+ student. Oh, you're Kapha, you're a little bit slow. Yeah, something's wrong with you. So we have this universal test system. We're not even educating and understanding that this child has a gift. It just takes a little bit longer to absorb information. And guess what? They'll never forget it. So can we see these things as superpowers? Can we see these elements, right? So this lens doesn't even just have to be about diet, lifestyle, and sleep. It can be about how you interact with people, how you coach your employees, how you train them, how you work with them. If you understood the elemental makeup, right, that I can't get frustrated because my Kapha partner doesn't understand something when I say it. Maybe the 3rd or 4th time they'll get it. And I understand it just takes them longer. They've got thicker skin, they've got more insulation and more fat. So it just takes them longer to absorb. Do you know how much that's helped me? With my pitta and my sharpness and, oh, why don't you get this? And the agitation. By just understanding that that's their elemental makeup and this is mine. And to allow grace for that. That's the power of Ayurveda.
I love it, bro. So fascinating. And then along that line, we covered some of them. There's also mixes, right?
Yeah, we're a combination of all the elements.
So it's not just one.
Yeah, you'll generally have a primary element. The idea is considered to be tridoshic, and that's when you are imbalanced and have a nice balance of all elements. So that's really what we're aiming for. A really good example of that in the animal and in the plant kingdom is ginger, right? Ginger is kind of spicy, but kind of cooling, and it's great for digestion. It's super tridoshic, and this is again why you'll see it being used with sushi. So, and it's with wasabi. So even other cultures understand that I'm going to give you something to increase agni, something heating, when I serve you cold, wet fish. So cold, wet fish, to balance that, wasabi, drying and heating.
That's wild.
Yeah. Can I kindle your agni before giving you something that might take a while to process? There's a reason that salt and black pepper is at every dinner table. There's a reason that I go into someone's cupboard and I'm seeing digestive spices like clove and cinnamon and nutmeg, cardamom. These are ancient medicines. For example, cardamom is cooling. The Turkish add cardamom to their coffee. Why? Because coffee is acidic. It's hot. So to balance that, I can add cardamom. Dave Osprey came out with bulletproof coffee. Ayurveda's been talking about this for 10,000 years. When you have caffeine, you should have it with fat and sugar. Butter, ghee. Maple syrup's a little bit cooling, great for pitta. Honey is warming. It has a scraping detoxification action. Great for kapha and vata. So it's not that sugar's bad. It's not that carbohydrates are bad. We need to get out of this one thing is bad for everybody type of mentality. Can you understand through an Ayurvedic perspective what it's the elemental interaction is? Right? You get to have sweet. You get to have honey. I get to have maple syrup. Maple syrup is a medicine, right? And we're told sugar's bad, right? But people aren't understanding that they're talking about white processed sugar where all of the compounds have been isolated and extracted, and then we blanket it. And now people think honey or maple syrup is bad.
It's going to make them gain fat.
And that could not be further from the truth, just depending on the elemental makeup. But this is what I propose, you know? What is good for you could be not good for someone else. Yeah? What is your elemental makeup? What is your blueprint? Talk about the study of self-realization. What a powerful tool for the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then Kappa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we covered Kappa, but from my understanding of Pitta Kappa.
Yeah, I would say like Kappa Pitta.
I always
Because listen.
I always mess that up.
Well, it's okay.
Kappa Pitta.
And the reason is because I think your natural makeup is Kappa. Nick, you had mentioned that at one time you were 125 pounds heavier than that.
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey very quickly. I know you've spoken about it. But what were some changes that you made that allowed you to lose that kind of weight? That's tremendous accomplishment.
Fasting. And really timing my foods and not eating late. That was huge. So I would eat and then I would walk. So at that time, well, part of the journey, I was working at an Amish restaurant. This was a long time ago now. But I was waiting tables. And at first I started dishwashing, so I would then eat, do all of that, and then go walk at like a 24-hour fitness. And so the eating earlier in the day really made a difference. Yeah. In it.
So
for sure. And not eating so much processed stuff, more natural things. And I think there's just levels to it, because something else I was thinking about while you were talking was the Paul Saladino carnivore types can still say, I lost a bunch of weight doing this. But it's like there's levels to it. You can lose a bunch of weight on carnivore even if your Ayurvedic makeup is different than what carnivore would be good for, because you're cutting out the fucking Taco Bell. You're cutting out the ultra processed, and you're going to more of a natural. So that's a step, and it's going to help you, but is that peak performance?
Correct.
Is that peak balance, or are you getting closer to balance? And maybe it works, but see, I think then it's like, well, this worked for me, but will it work for you long term? And that's why we see people like Paul Saladino go from carnivore to carnivore and fruit. There was more of a balance, but I don't know what his makeup is.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a part of this equation. It's like, it can still work for you to eat out of balance because it's better than what you were doing. But there's even a higher level than that,
Correct.
and that's what we're
Yeah,
talking
eating clean is the first step.
Yeah.
And then eating Ayurvedically is the next level. And you're asking about Kappa, and I'm happy because I never told you what the key to balancing Kappa is. We talked about the key to balancing Vata is consistency, right? Consistent wind, nice gentle breeze all the time. We talked about the key for Pitta is moderation, right? Not too extreme, just the middle path. Kapha, the key for Kapha is movement. You talk about your walks. See, this is an imbalanced Kapha person is stuck. These are couch potatoes, your potato couch. Yeah? They like ice cream. It's cold. It's wet.
I know
it's
people
sweet.
like this. Yeah. Especially in the winter.
Yeah. Especially in the winter. So this is the thing, you know, how out of balance are we if we're in northern Michigan and it's January and we are eating ice cream from the freezer at night? Like that versus a Pitta person in Mexico in July at high noon, like that ice cream is going to be the best thing they could possibly do. So it's depending on the environment. It can either be the best thing you can do for the situation, or it could be the worst.
Yeah, I've noticed, I come from Michigan. I came from Michigan to Kaua'i. And I noticed since I've been here, I just want juices.
Yeah.
We've been having mostly juice. Like, I didn't even eat a meal yesterday. Had
Right.
some ulu chips and some juice, and I
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't hungry. I didn't feel like I needed to eat. There was a part of my mind that was like, I need more protein. So I noticed that. I wonder how that fits in.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that? Like, how
this
does
is a great,
protein?
Yeah, this is a great. We'll get into protein, but what you're getting at right here is like the environment that you're in and what you're craving. And if we were here in Hawaii, we would be looking a lot of fresh fish, and we'd be looking at a lot of fruits. All right, so fruit is the easiest thing to digest because it's been pre-digested by the sun. Yeah, and then we're going to get into one thing that I always tend to skip in Ayurveda, which is kind of important, is this idea of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Yeah? And really there's specific types of foods that are very sattvic. And these are the foods I was talking to you about the other day that are higher to the sun. The mangoes, the coconuts, the dates. Yeah? So what I'm going to suggest, and what Ayurveda suggests, is that the earth will provide the food and the medicine in the location that it's in at the time. So a perfect example of this is in the spring. You have all this citrus. What is citrus doing? It's breaking things down. Well, what is it breaking down? It's breaking the winter, the stagnant, the frozen tundra. It gets lemon, it gets grapefruit, it gets oranges to break these things down.
Because it's acidic, right?
It's acidic, right? So in the springtime, the earth is giving you the medicine that it needs for you to thrive. In the summer, it's going to give you fruit to stay cool. In the fall, what starts to happen? In the fall, we're dealing with gourds. They're grounded. Why? Because we're going into the winter. So we want grounding foods, warming foods like cinnamon, and clove, and nutmeg.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. To warm and ground for the winter. Yeah? In the winter, what are we eating? We're eating warm stews, soups, to warm our bodies when it's cold outside. It's like we knew this instinctively. We were aligned, we were in touch with nature, and then something got severed, you know. All food is available 24/7, 365. You know, we get strawberries in February, right? So it's just like that. There are specific times that certain foods might be more beneficial. And so with protein is building, right? So we would want to maybe less meat in the summer and maybe more in the winter. Yeah, so maybe more carnivore in the winter, right? Maybe less in the summer. Maybe favor more fruits in the summer. But maybe in the winter, just depending on your dosha, like that's when you would start to see more meat. And that's what naturally you would have. You're gonna have less produce, right? And you're gonna see the culture. This is when you're gonna move to like, you know, butters. Just why butter? Why would you want to have butter in the wintertime? So that you're insulated, so you're staying warm. That's why you have more animal products, more animal proteins, animal fats, and that during those specific times.
So, would you say that, I know for a lot of muscle building, I mean, I'm really interested in sculpting my body. It's a big part of my life. I consider myself an athlete of some type. I think that for men, it's important to really tap into that side, that warrior side. And so, tell me if this is correct. The amount of protein that you need is actually dependent on the season.
Yeah, and the environment. And this is gonna play really well into this code and the simulation that we live in. And if our tongue is a keyboard facing upwards, there's 6 tastes. And what Ayurveda says is that it's not so much the food itself, but rather the taste creating a biochemical reaction in the body. So when you're talking about wanting to tonification, right? Is there a specific taste that we can use to increase tonifying? Yeah, we would look at something astringent, you know, pulling excess moisture out, excess stagnation. What's left is more fire, more air, more sharpness. Yeah, your cut. Right? So there's certain taste that we can favor based on our elemental makeup. And it's the taste that's creating a biochemical reaction that is either putting us in balance or out of balance. And that really blew my mind, bro. Yeah? Let's say I was super fiery. Should I be, you know, eating salty chips with spicy salsa? When we have spicy, some of us start to sweat. So already there's a biochemical reaction. It's a heating reaction. So if I had pitta dosha imbalances, the last thing I should be having is excessive salt and excessive spicy. But for most, the other two constitutions, vata and kapha, their digestion is slower because they have more of a cold elemental makeup, whereas salt and spicy would be great for them. So if I wanted to increase weight loss for kapha, I would be favoring foods that are salty, astringent, and spicy. And I would be avoiding foods that are sweet.
So fast.
I think so. You know, but it's like, when we talk about sweet taste, it's like sweet like mother's milk. So I think a lot of us, if we could just understand that maybe we're craving that dessert right before we go to bed because we're just craving our mother's love. The same way that her milk was sweet and grounding before bed. Yeah? Maybe that's why you're having a craving for sweet taste. Is there another self-loving practice that you could do that would be more in balance with you? That would help that feeling? Because sweet taste is going to be grounding and cooling. And this is when we talk about a potato couch. This is the cookie, cake, chocolates, the comfort of the mother, the comfort of the sweet taste. And some of us need that. And others, perhaps when you were 125 pounds heavier, that would have been the worst thing you could have done. And what did you do? You did the opposite. You fasted. Fast as air. You allowed your time, your digestion was slow, and now you allowed it to catch up. What were you doing? You were walking, so you had steady movement. Again, keep puffing. So you didn't have to go crazy, you didn't have to exert yourself in a way that would harm you, or that would exhaust you, or that would put you at risk for injury. You just did gentle movement, and you skipped dinner, and you lost and began to lose 125 pounds. Ayurveda is from the perspective that detoxification is slow and steady, that weight loss is slow and steady. We just live in a world where I can go get a surgery to lose weight.
Or a pill.
I can take a pill. Yeah? But what are the consequences of that? Are you really addressing the problem? And that's what I appreciate about Ayurveda so much, is that everything is, from a detoxification perspective, it just takes time. Coming into balance takes time. This is a long game, right? When we have time to get this right, and it's just fine tuning. If even we just plant a seed for Ayurveda for your listeners, right? My first Ayurvedic consultation, it was the first time that someone had told me that coffee was super heating and super acidic and super bitter. And for many people, it's the only bitter that they get. So bitter taste can be very detoxifying for the liver. This is why in the 20s they would give you bitters if you were feeling sick, to help with the detoxing of the liver. But if we're just constantly drinking black coffee all day long, smoking cigarettes, you're probably going to be pretty agitated. Probably going to be pretty heated. You might be a hothead. Yeah? How are your conversations going with your partnerships?
Or how are you talking to people?
Yeah. It's sharp.
Well, that's what Andrew Tate is, right? And that's what he says. I've seen him say.
Smoke
he drinks
cigars
black coffee.
And drink black coffee.
Hey, cigars aren't that bad.
You don't eat. You're super productive. Yeah, but dude, he's hot. His liver is hot. His blood is hot.
So then, how does he come off?
Right. So it's from an Ayurvedic perspective, and I can't say because I'm not feeling his pulse and I'm not diagnosing him, but I would say that he's pitta, and he already has a pitta imbalance. So how would I bring pitta back in? I would talk about coconut oil, introduce calming and cooling things, just to, you can be that warrior and be grounded.
Just like here, we talked about it a little.
You can be calm, cool, and collected, right? But he is Pitta, perfect example of that, and then also just a perfect example of like attracts like. That's the hardest part of the game, right? If you're Kappa and you like sweet things, that's what you're going to be attracted to. If you're Pitta and you like extreme, that's what you're going to be attracted to. If you're Vata, you're going to be up at weird hours of the day, and you're going to be eating at weird times, and you're going to be snacking, and you're going to be all over the place.
No, could you go through that again? Naming Pitta Vata as the element? Because I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, I don't remember what Pitta or Vata or Kappa means.
So Vata is a combination of air and ether.
Mm-hmm.
their gift is being tapped in. And you'll notice it generally is related to their strength. For example, air is related to the ears, it's related to sound. So these are your vocalists, these are your poets, your musicians, these are your DJs, these are your sound techs. Oftentimes they're working with music. Talk a lot, talk fast. New York is a Vata city, the city that never sleeps. Vata times are from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. You shouldn't be crashing. This is the time that you should be feeling creative. This is the time that you should be feeling artistic and painting and doing pottery. Yeah? You should feel like inspired, because that's a time for inspiration. Whereas 6 to 10 that night, it's time to ground now. Great time to lift if you want to put on weight. Great time to eat if you want to ground down. Great time to fast if you don't want to gain weight, right? And then again, so 6 to 10 is that Kappa, and then 10 to 2 a.m. And again, 2 to 6 a.m. is Vata. So this is the time where you are most tapped in to the ether. This is why monks wake up at 3 or 3:30 or 4 a.m. because this is when they're closest to God. This is also when nature produces the highest amount of DMT in plants and in humans. Because this is Vata, this is air, this is ether time.
So it's like the element itself has its own time.
Correct. And
that's true cyclical living right there.
Right. So how important is it that, we are not up at these hours, right? Maybe towards the end of the Vata, like 4, 5, 6, sure. But, if we're waking up at 2 or 3, it could be an indication that there's a Vata imbalance. For example, Vata in the body is in the kidneys and in the colon. So fear is also in the kidneys. So if someone was waking up at that area, I would be looking at that area in the body. If someone was waking up in between like 10 and 2, maybe around 12 or 1, I'd be looking at the liver, because this is the liver time. So based on your diet, lifestyle, and sleep, an Ayurvedic practitioner could make an assessment on where the imbalance is. And then provide a protocol to help balance that. So something to really help sleep, nutmeg with milk before bed. It's an incredible sedative. In fact, in high concentrations, it's psychedelic, right? But in trace amounts, it's incredible medicine with milk, grounded. Yeah? Milk before bed with a little bit of nutmeg, you're gonna sleep incredibly. Oils on the sole of your feet or the crown of your head to help ground you. Maybe to help cool you or warm you. Abhyanga. Yeah?
Depending on where you are.
Depending on where you are and what you're dealing with. So there's these little tricks that can help you sleep, right? Get and then we understand now, like get the Wi-Fi away, get the phone out of the room. Why? Because that's ether. It's energies that are disrupting your sleep. Yeah, so be very mindful of the frequency that is, my mom used to sleep with the TV on all the time.
So did my dad.
Yeah?
That was my dad.
Screen time after dark. We understand now that the sun, right, is going to help you wake up, and when it goes down, that's a good indication of when to go to bed. But if we're looking at our screen, and they use blue light, not red light, really interesting, and that stimulates.
That's the sun. And it kind of gets your circadian rhythm off. That's
Yeah.
why, dude, I wear blue light blockers so much at night. I mean, I played so many video games
Right.
that my eyes are absolutely trashed. I mean,
Yeah.
at one point I was playing 12, 15 hours a day. And so I'm at that point, and I've noticed such a huge difference in my own sleep, even with that. And as you're talking, it's interesting. I'm thinking of, I got a name for this particular podcast. And I feel like a good way to sum it up would be like the lost science of organic biohacking with Ayurveda. That's what I feel like we're talking about.
It is lost. It is lost, but we're bringing it back.
It's kind of hidden.
It's hidden.
However you want to say it. I mean, whether it's intentional or not, we can let everybody else come to their own conclusions. This podcast isn't about making those type of unprovable things, but I think that it's clear that there's something here.
It's making a big comeback. And I think what yoga was 20, 25 years ago, Ayurveda will be 20 years from now. I think it'll be practiced in some way, shape, or form by the entire world because it's truth. This is the science of truth.
It's a Sanatan Dharma, right? The eternal truth. It already exists. And so it'll be rediscovered. It can't get fully lost if it's eternally true. Meaning, even if it was lost, it's still happening.
Yeah.
And we'll just discover it in a different way. And I think biohacking is getting at this. And to go back even to a second for the homesteading, the rise of natural living, I think this is the next evolution of that. Yes, homesteading. Yes, growing your own food.
Yeah.
But what food's for your environment? What food for your external? I think people are understanding that, but what they're not getting, what I fucking love about Ayurveda, is they're not getting the internal environment has an elemental makeup that is different and unique for different people.
Yeah.
So even your partner
Yeah.
can have a different elemental makeup. So they might be eating a certain way, and I feel I've been in relationships where I felt pressure to eat a certain way because they do. But think about how much of a difference this can make.
It's
Yeah.
individualized medicine.
Imbalance.
For each unique constitution, their expression of the individual. And that's what we're missing. We live in a one-size-fits-all society,
Mm-hmm.
and we've taken the individual out of the equation.
Fucked up a little bit. Hope you didn't see that.
You look good, man.
My butane lighter isn't lighting.
It's a nice lighter.
I like this lighter.
Yeah.
We got some cool things to take back with us. Unique things. But yeah, go ahead.
One thing that Ayurveda really emphasizes, I think it's super important, is this concept that from a sexual energy perspective. And that is that this energy that you talk about when you're digesting your food, this Agni, this fire, you also have something that's called Ojas. And Ojas is your sexual reproductive fluid. But when you are not reproducing and making children, this essence is also your creation energy. And not only is it your creation energy, in Ayurveda, it's also your immune system. So this sexual energy is so important to honor and observe. And it is the depletion of this energy that allows our walls to come down and illness to creep in. But as men specifically, I just want to emphasize how important it is to retain our fluids. And we do, I know that we're speaking to both men and women, but
Even your life force.
it's your life force, bro. It's your vitality. It's your primordial essence, yeah? And this is Ojas, and it is the most refined essence of Kappa. So the most refined essence of Vata is Prana, yeah? Pure energy, pure air. The most refined essence of Pitta is called Tejas, which is just the purest form of fire in your body. It allows for this transformation. And then the purest form of Kapha is Ojas, which is the drips of this oil and this water, and you talk about the anointing and oil and how important this is for cranial sacral therapy. And we understand the oil that travels up and down the spine, and that is the ojas. And for the brothers that are listening, that maintaining this is going to allow you to create not just children, but an empire. Anything that you want to manifest, your strength, your ability to put on muscle, you could call it testosterone, and we could talk about it and break it down that way. And Ayurveda would look at it from an ojas perspective. This is your vitality. You can see it. This is your aura, and it's your sexual reproductive fluid, or your creation energy. And that's a super important component of Ayurveda, and I think we abuse that in our society. I think that there is a direct effort to extract that power, specifically from men, but for all of us in society, through sexual energy. Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah. If you have less life force,
that's it. So with the right diet, the right lifestyle, and the right sleep, and a true observance of what they call brahmacharya. And Brahma means nature, and Charya means wheel, and this got translated into an extreme way of saying this would be like be abstinent. Yeah? But really they're not trying to say be abstinent and don't have sex. What they're trying to say is be mindful of your natural creation sexual energy, because not only can it create children, it can create your reality, and it's also your immune system. And practicing retention can really enable the body to heal. Yeah.
how are you doing with the heat? I know it's a little hot out here.
Oh, I'm doing great.
You're doing good?
Yeah, I like it hot.
Okay.
Pitta, and you'll notice like pitta, like, so, you know, you were in the hot tub yesterday in your kappa pitta, and you don't like hot water, right? That's a kappa thing. Kappa's not gonna want hot water. Cool water, cold water. Yeah, I love it. I like the heat. So, but that's because like attracts like. I got some coconut oil on to help balance it out.
Yeah, I noticed when I'm in Sedona,
Yeah.
or I lived in Phoenix for a while, over a year, and eventually it really started to, I liked it, but then it just felt super dry,
Yeah.
you know, and I do like the north for that reason, because it feels more in balance with me. All my friends are in the south though, so it's kind of hard, but I noticed that those little things, that's been true in my experience. Like, I'm not telling you what my makeup is and then being like, I don't like the hot tub. It's like, it's already happening. That's what we're talking about, eternal truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's already present. We're already unconsciously living in our preferences, if we're in tune with ourselves, in the ways where, hot tub doesn't make sense for me because of my makeup.
Right. You know, when it comes back to, and this is why I call my company Elemental Medicines, it just comes back to the elements. Right? Once you understand what's happening on an elemental level, just pure basic, anyone can understand elements. And then from there, it can get deeper. But start there, right? Just understand, is something going to be heating for me? Is it going to be cooling? Am I trying to heat up? Am I trying to cool down?
When would you try to heat up?
Man, when I try to heat up? I would be looking at, like, if my imbalance was Vata,